Did Josie disable the chat for this? I'm assuming yes. Okay. Let me call.
I see that they're in, so I need them to log into Russia's box
Sounds good. Loud and clear. Is Jen here and I'm just staring at her, not seeing her? Where's Jen?
She's virtual.
Oh, very good. Okay. I'll start. Keelan, did you hear Josie's question? Josie, could you repeat the question, please? I don't care what you do. Yeah, fine. There was a Josie, you had a question? Josie Chavez? Maybe she wasn't talking to us.
Okay.
Jen, can you hear me?
I'm on.
Jen Gray O'Connor, can you
I
hear
don't
me?
think
I don't think anybody can hear us. Feeling?
That's what they're working on right now.
Oh, okay. You
They
know
can't
nobody
hear
can
them
hear us online, right?
they can hear us online was the question.
Can I hear
They
us?
don't seem to be.
No.
I think we're troubleshooting.
We're muted. I could have guessed that.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to get
So it was restored to current service level plus a million, plus all of the positions are now fixed ongoing, but there are additional dollars that were not utilized, and I think they're here to work in favor of additional dollars that actually aren't being spent. Very much. Let's go. Folks, we'll start an online technical issue that we're troubleshooting here. We'll get going as soon as it's resolved.
Right, it's good. And we don't have a confirmation yet if we're on. Yeah. Should we check? Can you hear us in the Zoom? Tess, can you hear us in the Zoom? Can you hear us in the Zoom?
Good. Jen, it seems like we have the issue resolved. I'll let you do the welcome overview goals and agenda.
(2024-2025) budget. Today, we're going to be hearing from community members who will be providing testimony to council on the issues that they would like to see addressed in the city's upcoming budget. My name is Jen, and I'll be your facilitator for today. I'm going to start by just giving you a brief overview of our agenda, and then I will pass it over to Mayor Wheeler to give some opening remarks. I'll start today by reading our rules of conduct on how we will show up in this space today. Then we'll hear from Mayor Wheeler to do some opening remarks. followed by a Budget 101 from Budget Director Tim Grew. Following that, we'll hear community testimony on any topic. Then we'll give it back to council to give us some closing remarks and then followed up with some next steps. Want to just start by saying there will be additional opportunities to make your voice heard. Next, we'll have an upcoming hearing on Wednesday, May 15th from 2 to 5 p.m. where we'll have the approved budget hearing. Of course, at any time, you can provide online testimony at portland.gov/CBO, or you can email testimony to budgetcomment@portlandoregon.gov. Okay, before we start our meeting, I want to just read our rules of conduct for today. The City Council represents all Portlanders and meets to do the city's business. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during the City Council meetings so that everyone can feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe. To participate in this meeting, participants applied to give testimony online. If you did not apply and you would like to give testimony to council, please submit that testimony in writing at portland.gov/CBO. When you're testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please declare if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. You'll have 2 minutes to testify and you'll be timed by staff. When your time's over, you'll be given a verbal warning and then muted when 2 minutes have passed so that we can allow for as much participation as possible. Any disruptive conduct such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony will not be allowed. If there are any disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being muted or possibly ejected for the remainder of the electronic meeting. Please be aware that all council meetings are recorded. Thank you for helping your fellow Portlanders feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe. And with that, I'll pass it to Mayor Wheeler.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it again. We're now convened as the City of Portland Budget Committee. Keelan, please call the roll.
Ryan,
Here.
Wallace,
Here.
Maps,
Here.
Rubio,
Here.
Mueller.
Here. Thank you, Keelan. I will hand this over to Interim City Budget Office Director Ruth Levine to give us a brief overview of the budget process and the budget.
Great. Sorry, I think, Josie, I need you to make me a host in the Zoom in order for me to share my screen, or you can share it. Sorry about that. One sec.
Sorry about that. I am doing that right now.
And while Josie's teeing this up, I should just let people know there are certain things that we have to do in accordance with budget law, and this is part of it. And the mayor's message that I'm going to give after this is also a requirement under Oregon budget law. So bear with us while we go through those perfunctory motions prior to hearing your testimony.
Okay. My name is Ruth Levine. I'm the interim budget director. I'm just going to give a very quick overview, Budget 101 of sorts here, before I let the mayor kick off. So this is just the local government landscape. Just a reminder that the city of Portland is one of several local government entities that together provide services that we as Portlanders utilize on a regular basis. And so just a reminder that that the budget we're talking about today only concerns the city services, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. What services does the city provide? I thought it would be helpful to note that the city's organization is changing somewhat with the change in our form of government due to the charter reform. But many of the city's core services are going to stay the same. So you can see them here on this slide. I'll show the budget, how the budget breaks out in a moment, but Public Works is one of our biggest slices of the budget pie. Public safety is the biggest portion of the general fund budget, which I'll talk again about in a moment. And then we have community economic development providing permitting, planning, and sustainability, affordable housing and economic development. In the new Vibrant Communities service area, there's city parks, city arts, and the children's levy. And then we have city administration and operations, which includes things like our human resources, our attorneys, our budget, fleet facilities, technology, et cetera. And then, of course, our elected offices. So this is just sort of for everyone's understanding of kind of the budget conversations and the decisions that are made. Often we talk a lot about things that are within what we call general fund discretionary, which is actually only 10% of the city's overall budget. There are many different types of restricted funds, some of which are utility rates, transportation funds, debt service, and federal funding. And those make up about 90% of the city's budget. Within the general fund, we have a variety of different revenue sources and types of expenditures. Our biggest revenue source in the general fund is property taxes, followed by business license taxes. And then expenditures include personnel, which is obviously a large slice of the budget, and then things like external contracts, grants to community groups, and capital and equipment. And then just at a high level, talking about the decisions that are being made in the budget process. So in some years when the city has surplus funding, where revenues are coming in above expenditures, we have more money to allocate to new programs or expand existing programs, add funding to reserves. And, for example, in the past few years, there was additional federal funding that came in through the American Rescue Plan Act that the city used to fund all kinds of new programs, sidewalk restaurant permits, rent support, and the like. In other years, where our existing expenditures are growing higher than our revenues, we are in a reduction scenario. And that was the scenario in the general fund coming into the fiscal year 24-25 budget. We had a reduction in projected property tax increases, some reductions in business license tax, which were largely anticipated, but then also continued cost growth within our existing expenditures due to inflation and other cost pressures. This is a graph of the revenue forecast from fiscal year 23-24 through 28-29. The city has to provide a balanced budget each year, and we project revenues through a 5-year forecast each December. So this was the 5-year forecast from December of 2023, which formed the basis of the budget for 24-25. And as you can see, the 24-25 projection was the revenues were $2 million short of expenditures, and the two lines continue to grow pretty much overlapping until fiscal year 28-29, meaning there was quite a bit of cost pressure and need for reductions in the 24-25 budget process, and we're anticipating that that will continue through the next couple of fiscal years. Some of the cost pressures, in addition to our sort of baseline expenditures, were legal requirements, the Portland Metropolitan Levy System, the new police oversight system, which requires that 5% of the police bureau's budget be set aside for police oversight, some additional costs related to charter reform, and other cost pressures that that the city is facing in 24-25. These are all things that are addressed through the proposed budget. And the next couple of graphs just give you a quick overview of how the proposed budget breaks out. So this is what we call all funds. This includes every dollar that comes into the city, and every type of revenue, essentially. When you look at it this way, the public works section of the pie is nearly half of the overall budget for the city, and so that obviously includes things like rate revenues. It includes debt financed capital projects and the like. Then when you break it out so that we're only looking at the general fund, you can see that public safety comprises the largest share of the pie, followed by budget and finance, which includes things like our fire and police disability pension program, vibrant communities, which includes our parks, and on down the list. So for more information, there's our city budget office website listed here. You can email us at citybudgetoffice@Portland, excuse me, that should say portland.gov, portlandoregon.gov, excuse me. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. And now I'll take just a few minutes to step through my mayor's budget message as required by state law. This message can be found published in its entirety in the fiscal year 2024-2025 proposed budget document that's available online on the City Budget Office website. Over the course of my administration, I've helped lead Portland through the most challenging years in our city's history. Portland has faced numerous unprecedented and overlapping crises: a rapid increase in unsheltered homelessness, rising rates of crime and gun violence, livability issues related to litter and graffiti, and a strain to our economy in the wake of the pandemic, amongst other critical issues. Portlanders remain crystal clear that they want to see solutions at the street level. In response, I, along with all members of this city council, have invested in completely new systems and programs to address the most complex challenges facing our community. In answering the call for on-the-ground solutions, we reinvented how the city serves Portlanders and laid the foundation for bold change while healing our community. We're seeing success from these programs, and we need to continue to build on the positive momentum. Despite the complex crises, the ongoing government transformation work, as well as budgetary challenges, my proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 is balanced, and it builds on the momentum we've achieved in meeting the most critical needs of Portlanders. With regard to public safety, the citywide Portland's Insight Survey clearly identified public safety as one of the top priorities for Portlanders. This is the largest public safety budget that has ever been proposed. The Portland Police Bureau, Portland Fire and Rescue, the Bureau of Emergency Communications, our 911 system, Portland Street Response, the Police Vehicle Theft Task Force, the Focused Intervention Team, the Enhanced Community Safety Team, the Office of Violence Prevention, Rose City Defense, Summer Ceasefire, and more programs will continue leading the way to a safer and more livable community. This budget formally establishes Portland Solutions as a program in the city administrator's office. This program is critical to helping people who are on our streets. Our Safe Rest Village program, the Temporary Alternative Shelter Site program, the Impact Reduction program, the Public Environment Management Office, and the Street Services Coordination Center will all operate under one umbrella to enhance coordination and service delivery citywide. Many of these programs were piloted in our 90-day resets, which were area-specific. We heard loudly and clearly that people wanted these same services citywide. We are delivering that with Portland Solutions. Now is the time to ensure that these programs are memorialized in the city structure and can be taken citywide. With regard to economic recovery, our work to support economic recovery across the city is bolstered through this budget. This budget establishes the Portland Permitting and Development Bureau, or PP&D. This is an historic move to streamline the permitting process for housing developers, business owners, homeowners alike. It also supports the Events Office and establishes the Office of Small Business within Prosper Portland, improving entrepreneurs' access to repair grants, technical assistance for business development, and permit navigation. While addressing these core issues, we're also leading the effort to completely overhaul our government structure and our management systems as directed by voters in November of 2022 when they voted for fundamental charter reform. This budget will span both forms of government, with the current council executing the first half of the fiscal year and the newly elected mayor and city council executing the second half of the fiscal year. This budget funds the new management structure, the physical infrastructure changes that are required, and the onboarding to ensure the city and its incoming elections are ready for business on January 1st, 2025, just as voters wanted. The city's fiscal environment is and will continue to be more constrained than we've seen in recent years. The financial forecast for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget indicates a deficit of $2 million ongoing within the general fund to continue current programs and no additional one-time resources. In addition, several significant issues needed to be addressed within the fiscal year 2024-25 budget, including but certainly not limited to legal obligations such as the Columbia River Levee project, the Police Oversight Board approved by voters, and other environmental liabilities. Higher personnel costs due to historic rates of overtime, particularly in our emergency response bureaus. The expiration of one-time funding for high-priority programs, including federal funding through the American Rescue Plan Act at the end of 2024. Declines in certain revenue streams outside of the general fund, such as those that support the Portland Bureau of Transportation and our Bureau of Development Services, our permitting bureau, as well as costs related to implementation of the voter-approved charter reform. This budget cycle, we piloted a more centralized budget process to make way for the new form of government that will also have a centralized budget process. The City Budget Office met with each service area and the commissioners in charge to identify and prioritize cost reductions, assess and provide policy options for key financial issues specific to their service area, and identify opportunities for collaboration. Following those meetings, I met with each commissioner in charge and bureau leadership within their service areas to understand the specific impacts of cost reductions on service levels and council priorities prior to formulating this proposed budget. With the exception of Portland Fire and Rescue, the Portland Police Bureau, and the Portland Bureau of Emergency Communications, our 911 system, all bureaus were directed to take a 5% constraint in current appropriation levels, which has resulted in an overall reduction of approximately $11.9 million. All bureaus were directed to incorporate the specific costs related to charter transition by either identifying existing budget resources or external revenue to balance the expenses, or include new general fund requests only for the list of specific items related to the charter transition. With regard to non-general fund guidance, utility bureaus, which are of course supported by rates, were directed to reflect previously forecast rate increases only, a 5.15% increase for fiscal year 24-25 for sewer rates, and a 7.9% increase for water, resulting in a combined increase of 6.24%. These bureaus were also directed to absorb new costs required as a result of the charter transition within the current rates. Internal service funds and ongoing program funds were directed to meet a 5% budget constraint and absorb the costs related to charter transition. With regard to the recreational cannabis tax, due to declining revenues, ongoing programs funded by the recreational cannabis tax were directed to make a 22% reduction. With regard to the Clean Energy Fund, the city is ever aware of our carbon footprint and the impact that our fleet, facilities, contracting work, and more has on this community and on this region, which is why we established our climate goals in the first place. City bureaus worked in close partnership with the Portland Clean Energy Fund Committee to engage in a community process to review and approve over $600 million in City of Portland Bureau projects that align specifically with Portland Clean Energy Fund goals. This alignment resulted in service areas receiving the following allocations to expend over the next 5 years. City operations, $29 million. Community and economic development, $176 million. Public Works, $235 million, and Vibrant Communities, $167 million. Just a few of the PSEF projects, a couple of examples include the electrification of the city vehicle fleet, active transportation programs, LED streetlights, strengthening an equitable tree canopy to combat extreme heat events, which we have seen more of in recent years, and improved HVAC and other efficiency upgrades at our well-beloved community centers. By matching specialized funding sources like the Portland Clean Energy Fund with appropriate projects, we were able to execute upon critical climate work that Portlanders want and fund other priorities. Our collaboration over the last several months demonstrates the immense potential for continued partnership, fueling the culture change needed for the city to fully lean into a sustainable business practice and meet our climate goals. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the Portland Clean Energy Fund Committee for their engagement and carrying out a substantial community process to review and approve the projects included within this budget to align with the Portland Clean Energy Fund goals. This is my last annual budget as the mayor of Portland. I'm proud of the progress we've made standing up successful programming to address critical issues in our community. I acknowledge that we still have work to do, but we've continued to keep public safety front and center. We've expanded outreach to those who are struggling on our streets to connect them with the services they need to help them get off and stay off of our streets. And we've broadened our support for small businesses as well as community events and activation. All the while, we are full steam ahead on our government transition, and we've successfully navigated an incredibly difficult fiscal year as a city team, working hand in hand with our community. It's been an honor to serve this community and produce a budget that funds thoughtful and effective solutions and stabilize the city services for the next group of electeds who will take over in January. That concludes my mayor's message. I have one more footnote that I'd like to add, just because I know there are quite a few people who are here to testify on Portland Street Response. We welcome you, but I wanted to give you just a little bit, 45 seconds if I could, of the thinking that went into this budget. I believe there has been some confusion about Portland Street Response funding within my proposed budget. My proposed budget allocates $7.4 million in fiscal year 2024-25 to maintain the current staffing and service levels of the Portland Street Response program. That $7.4 million accounts for what the program is anticipated to expend in the current fiscal year, with about $1 million additional dollars. This budget also funds PSR with ongoing rather than one-time general funds. That means that the positions within PSR are now protected for the foreseeable future because they are funded with ongoing resources, and that will automatically become a starting point for next year's budget. I know some of you will have other thoughts. We look forward to hearing them. I'm looking forward to hearing general feedback from members of our community this afternoon on any aspect of the budget that you'd like to talk about. We're not taking any votes. This is not the final budget. This is just the beginning. It's our proposed budget. For those who are interested in diving in a little deeper in reviewing the full proposed budget, please visit the City Budget Office website at www.portland.gov/CBO. It's probably easier just to Google it. With that, I'll hand this back over to Jen to provide some guidelines regarding public testimony. Jen, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wheeler. So we have a lot of testimony today, and we've got a lot of very important topics to cover. So I just want to remind everyone to please stop when you hear the timer go off, because we really want to keep comments to 2 minutes. We also want to encourage you to follow our rules of conduct for respectful communication. If you're in violation of those rules, I'll give you a reminder, and then if that behavior continues, you'll be muted or removed from this session. We have a lot of people who've signed up to testify, and we really want to make sure that we can hear from everyone. So again, you'll have 2 minutes to testify. You'll see a timer that'll go off after 2 minutes. If you go longer than 2 minutes, you'll hear a verbal warning, and then we'll just mute and remove you if you continue to speak beyond that time. So if you're joining us by phone, you can push *6 in order to mute or unmute. And one note for our Zoom participants, you will receive an invitation to be a panelist shortly before your name is called. Please accept that invitation. You'll be promoted to panelist, and that'll give you the ability to mute and unmute. You will be invited to unmute when you're called to participate, so please use the raised hand function if you need any assistance at all. And with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Sam to call our first 3 folks.
First up, we have Diana Messenhelter. Diana, are you here?
Going to read one at a time, or we'll have 3 to come up with.
Cam, could we read 3 names at a time, just so the people who are on standby can start making their way up? Thanks.
Absolutely. We have Diana Messenhelter, Keith Wilson, and then Claire Coleman Evans.
Thank you. I'm Diana Meisenhelter. I've lived in inner Northeast Portland for 35 years. And first, I'd like to say that we don't need 7 million. We need 10 million, which is what Portland Street Response is currently, their operational budget is. Folks in crisis do not need the added stress of armed officers showing up. And I've given more detailed prior testimony on this, so I'm not going to talk long about it. But my experience in living in Inner Northeast is that police response has been totally inappropriate the times that I have been involved. Everything from throwing a 12-year-old black child, a girl, on the front of a car hood and basically mishandling her until myself and others broke in, to preventing ambulances from getting to a dying youth who was part of our summer Sabin CDC program, who was shot in the middle of Alberta Street, preventing ambulances to getting to him, and he died. To the last time was somebody who was just high as a kite on Killingsworth, and I stopped, and the police were called by somebody else, and because he was like in danger, he was just like in the middle of the street, and they refused to help him. They said, well, we don't have the budget for this, and basically left, and a cup of coffee and some, just kind of being with him. All these were before Portland Street Response, and I've had to use Portland Street Response 6 times, and have had absolutely wonderful responses from them, and caring, kind, spending the time necessary, doing the minimum kinds of things that give people dignity, respect, and help them in their time of crisis. And I might add that I still don't believe, despite the Oversight Board provisions, that we have adequate police accountability in place.
There it is.
Okay, is that it?
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Keith Wilson, then Claire Coleman Evans, then Kathleen Swift.
Hi, Keith.
Mr. Mayor, hello. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to testify. My name is Keith Wilson, and I'm the CEO of Titan Freight Systems, founder of nonprofit Shelter Portland, and a candidate for mayor of Portland. Our small donor election program was a crucial consideration in choosing to enter the race against a slate of candidates with the name recognition and the benefits of incumbency. I was disappointed to see the proposed city budget undermines the spirit and intent of the small donor election program to eliminate barriers and increase public participation. As currently funded, the program is a winner-take-all fundraising dash that will reward incumbent politicians with strong name recognition long before election results are decided. I was also disappointed that the mayoral race was funded at a lower threshold than our city council race despite having to reach every neighborhood and 4 times the number of voters. Our city finds itself at a crossroads. Our Portland elections, an open contest of ideas and values. We know what our city faces, the highest rate of unsheltered homelessness outside of California, a shrinking population, and one of the worst economic recoveries in the nation. Do we now seek the best possible candidates and throw open the doors to political outsiders, or do we exclude dedicated, accomplished people from all walks of life who want to transform our city for the better? The Portland Elections Commission must fully fund the small donor elections program and increase the $100,000 cap for mayoral campaigns. We're fast approaching a once-in-a-century transformation of city government. This November may be the most consequential local election in a generation, and we must have a small donor election program that lives up to the values of our city. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Keith.
Next up, we have Claire Coleman Evans, Kathleen Swift, and Kevin Neely.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear, Claire.
Hi, my name is Claire Coleman Evans, and thank you for letting me speak today. I would like to speak on behalf of all the neighborhood associations and the changes that are happening with putting in the new districts. And the thing that's most concerning is District 4, which is mostly Southwest, is only receiving literally half of what the other neighborhood associations are getting. And we now have 33 neighborhood associations that are going to be serviced by District 4 Coalition, and yet we don't have the budget. And it was very interesting listening to your speech, Mr. Wheeler. You never mentioned neighborhood associations, you mentioned community organizations, but our services have been cut and are continuing to be cut. And the communication has gotten much worse with trying to communicate with the city, trying to communicate with the new districts. And so I am really looking forward to, hopefully, whoever becomes the new city commissioners are going to have neighborhood associations in mind, because we actually help do your job now, because we are now tasked with doing the job that the district coalitions used to do. We're all volunteers, but we are doing the job that the district coalitions used to do. We're not getting paid for it. We're the ones that are on the ground. We're the ones that are working for you. We're trying to bring you what's happening in the neighborhood, and we're not being allowed to do that. So I really encourage you to look over what the budget is for the neighborhood associations. It's woefully inadequate, and relook at it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Claire, appreciate it.
Next up, we have Kathleen Swift, Kevin Neely, and then Jorge Bautista.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I am Kathy Swift, Senior Vice President, Nonprofit Development Officer at Heritage Bank, whose Portland office is in the 1000 Southwest Broadway building. I make loans to nonprofits and affordable housing providers in Portland, many of whom are testifying today and who have testified previously. I'm also on the board of a number of nonprofits, Social Safety Net particularly. My colleagues at Heritage Bank and I are doing what we can to build a vibrant community by serving both for-profit companies and nonprofits who are essential to the health of this city. I am out in the business district, the art venues in Old Town and East Portland, both day and night. I have personally seen many, many times the difference of the police interactions with homeless people in distress compared to Portland street response. I want to express to you that those of us who work downtown don't want to see a stress-inducing police response when we are going about our business. I feel threatened by the police interventions with homeless folks, and I'm just an observer. It doesn't make me feel safe. It is way, way more comfortable to witness the gentle coaching by Portland Street Response without guns and without bulletproof vests. They are here to help the individuals in crisis. Given my nonprofit emphasis, so thank you, and please fund to 10 million.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Kevin Neely, followed by Jorge Bautista, followed by Scott Moore.
Welcome.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Neely, and I serve on the Portland Elections Commission, which oversees the small donor election program. The program enables candidates to communicate with voters with small contributions and matching funds, as you know. To ensure the program does not run out of money mid-election cycle, City Code requires the PEC to first ask Council for more funding, and if not received, to lower either the match rate or match caps, hence my appearance today. Implementation of charter amendments increased the number of city positions being elected from 3 to 14, creating a significant gap in funding, as you know. To address the shortfall, the PEC unanimously recommended the program seek a one-time increase of $5.7 million. The proposed budget provides no additional funding. The impact of the shortfall is already being felt. In January, the PEC voted to lower program match caps drastically by 60% in commission and auditor races and over 75% in the mayor's race, as we wait to see the final city budget provides additional funding for the program. So far, it does not. The proposed budget necessitates the PEC continue these reduced match caps. However, there is an opportunity to change direction. Any new one-time investments will allow PEC to restore matching funds. To that end, and to be transparent with campaigns in the council, the PEC yesterday unanimously voted to restore match caps to the same percent across each office should additional one-time funding be provided. We've offered each of your offices a table with how additional investment in the program would be allocated. The table is also included in my written testimony. The coming election is unprecedented in the city's long history, yet the proposed budget will dramatically reduce the ability of candidates to communicate with their voters. This is not the time to reduce engagement. The PEC recommends unanimously the council provide an additional $5.7 million in one-time funds to allow for the full restoration of match caps across every office. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jorge Bautista, followed by Scott Moore, followed by Calder Cannon. If Jorge is not present, we'll move on to Scott. Scott, are you with us? And if Scott is not with us, we'll move on to Calder. Calder Cannon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. We see you as well.
Thank you. I'm here to speak on Portland street response funding and the desire of Portland's citizens to maintain it at about 10 million, because that is what they were provided previously. 7.4 million reduces the budget as previously stated. I'm just going to read some statistics. In 2023, there were 22,900 pre-K through 12 children enrolled in Oregon school districts who experienced homelessness. That number nearly matches the highest recorded rate for the past 16 years. McKenzie and Arlington school districts had 24% and 22% of students experiencing homelessness. The school count also lists unaccompanied students, a quote, homeless child or youth not in the physical custody of a parent or guardian. And in 2023, there were at least 3,000 students who experienced unaccompanied homelessness across Oregon. This is an unacceptable amount of homelessness for anyone, but especially for children. And I think that the very least we could do is maintain Portland street response. And honestly, more funding would be desirable, but maintaining is the bare minimum we can do. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Calder.
Our next three participants are Linda Livermore, Jeff Bissonette, and Jen Barth.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and City Council. My name is Linda Livermore. I'm a CPA. I'm a resident and have my business in inner Southeast Portland, where I've lived for 33 years. I'm also a precinct committee person. I'm here to speak for City Portland City response. I also agree that it should continue at the level it's been funded, with the intent to, in the future, move it to a 24/7 program. So I agree with what's been said in the past. I want to speak to a personal experience I had shortly after City Response went to the citywide being available. I had somebody in a car outside my house on the street. I went to check on them because I didn't see any movement, but I knew they were in their car, and I was worried for their health. I didn't want to call the police, so I actually went out and tapped on the window and got their attention. They were afraid. I provided them food, I provided them clothing they needed. They were out of gas, their car battery was dead. You know, they didn't have any resources. I knew that Portland's city response was in the works. I found out it was now citywide. I contacted 911, and people showed up within 45 minutes. I was out talking with the person and stayed out there until city response came. And because I was offering to help her in any way I could. When they arrived, and I let her know that they were coming, I wasn't sure how she was going to respond, if she would feel safe. I stayed out there with her, and I let them know that I was out there with her and asked if it was okay with them if I stayed. And they were very open. They were very approachable. The way they worked with her was just really heartwarming for me. I felt safe. I felt like she was safe. Yeah, thank you. It's a great program.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for doing that.
Next up, we have Jeff Bissonette, followed by Jen Barth, followed by Janice Thompson.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jeff Bissonette, and I'm here today representing Friends of Portland Net. The Portland Neighborhood Emergency Teams is a program of the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management, or PBEM, that trains community volunteers to respond in the event of emergencies or disasters. FPN is an independent nonprofit organization that supports the NET program, the neighborhood-based teams, and individual NET volunteers. My focus today is on the PBEM budget, and particularly the community programs portion of that budget. While the overall budget for PBEM is held generally steady compared to last year, which we support, community programs took a drastic cut of 74%. We strongly urge you to reconsider this proposal. The 74% cut impacts not only the NET program, but also other community-centric programs such as Beacon and the COAD program. These and other initiatives are all investments that the city has made steadily over the years to help Portlanders help each other in times of emergency or disaster. While many of these programs were started with a large Cascadia subduction zone earthquake in mind, they have shown themselves to be effective resources in a broad range of scenarios. For example, looking at the NET program alone, volunteers are routinely deployed dozens of times a year at the city's request to perform a range of services. And that's just in a normal year. At the height of the pandemic, NET volunteers were deployed twice the normal rate, and their volunteer hours in 2021 amounted to nearly a $450,000 contribution to the city by trained people who are ready and want to serve. Going from over $1 million last year for community programs to about a quarter of that in this proposed budget is a bad policy decision and sends the wrong message to the community. We urge you to maintain PBEM's overall funding levels, which is not enough, but that's another set of comments, and to maintain the funding levels from past years for the community programs portion of PBEM's budget. Thanks for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Jeff.
Next up, we have Jen Barth, followed by Janice Thompson, followed by Shur Zerich. Jen, are you with us? Jen isn't with us. We'll go on to Janice Thompson next.
Hello. I'm assuming I'm being heard.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thompson, speaking only for myself with 5 points. Number 1, adapt all the budget notes. They are very important, and all of the recommendations and memos that are required to be submitted to the interim city administrator and/or the mayor should be posted online. These will be very valuable documents, and full transparency is essential, so all stakeholders have this info during development of next fiscal year's budget. Number 2, the Kirby garage authorizations must be adopted to address the abysmal conditions at that site. Thanks to Mady Sauter for her leadership. I also note her comments during the February council work session should be heeded to the extent possible through the end of this year to lay the groundwork for vital improvements in how management of assets shared by multiple bureaus should be handled in the future. 3 Portland street response related elements in this budget are an improvement over the initial request, but more is needed. 4, the city operations service area is the appropriate location for the community-based police oversight office and commission. And 5, thanks to the CBO and all bureau staff involved in the development of this year's fiscal budget, which was a transitional budget development process. I think what we saw really signaled the advantages of Portland joining the modern era of municipal management with professional service area administrators, ensuring long overdue horizontal assessments of how to best provide city services. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Shur Zerich, followed by Carol Cushman, followed by Jenny Lee.
Hello, my name is Shur Zerich, and I'm here to call for full funding and support of Portland Street Response. This program is an integral part of keeping our community safe, providing both supplies and trained care to those in need. I like to shop in person whenever possible. I like to watch movies in theaters whenever possible, and it makes me feel much more comfortable to be out and about in Portland, knowing that Portland Street Response is only a phone call away. When someone is struggling to thrive, they should not be met with force or criminalization. De-escalation and community care as tactics are more humane, more effective, and more economical in the long run. Finding a way to maintain the $10 million budget for Portland Street Response is the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Carol Cushman, followed by Jenny Lee, followed by Kate Titus.
Carol, I think you're muted still.
Had unmuted myself.
Yeah, there you go, Carol. Welcome.
Now my whole screen disappeared from you, but I assume I am still here.
Yep, we see you and we hear you.
Okay. I'm Carol Cushman, representing the League of Women Voters of Portland. We urge you to provide additional funding for the Small Donor Elections Program in this budget. The Small Donor Program aims to restore Portlanders' confidence in our democracy and government by reducing both the real and perceived influence of large contributions. The program also supports other goals consistent with Portland values, such as reducing barriers for Portlanders of all demographics to run for office. The voter-approved charter amendments both increase the size of city council and, on a one-time basis, require all city offices to be elected this year. With 14 positions on the ballot instead of the typical 3, there will be a funding shortfall. The mayor's draft budget funds the program at a level consistent with only 3 offices instead of 14. That means the match caps may be cut by 60%. This would not provide enough money to run an effective campaign and could encourage rather than safeguard against independent expenditures. It is especially important to provide full funding in the upcoming election cycle. Voters clearly want to have the full range of candidates to choose among in order to have a more representative city government that reflects the interests of the population it serves. We appreciate your commitment to full and effective implementation of the voter-approved charter amendments. We know you understand how those charter reforms affect the SDE program. Please make it a priority for you to fully fund the SDE program for the 2024 elections. Thank you for consideration of this funding increase.
Thank you, Carol.
Next up, we have Jenny Lee, Kate Titus, and Daniel Meek. Jenny, it is your turn to testify.
I am not Jenny, but I am Marcus Mundy, representing Jenny from the Coalition of Communities of Color. I'm the executive director of the coalition. And of all things I never thought I'd say, I'm a registered lobbyist for the city of Portland and someone who shared a picture with the mayor on Oregon Live today. So how about that? Anyway, I will keep
I'm
this.
sorry, Marcus. That must have really hurt your image.
Moving on. Not at all. Anyway, I will keep this brief and to the point. I'm here to urge you to fund the small donor elections program at a level that allows candidates to meaningfully reach Portland voters. With contribution limits, which help reduce the influence of money in politics, a robust email donor program, small donor program, is essential for candidates to connect with voters and talk to everyday Portlanders. Increased match caps amplify the voices of those without the ability to make large contributions to meaningfully shape elections. An effective small donor program ensures that anyone with community support can run for office, regardless of their financial means or connection to people with wealth. Small donor programs have resulted in more diverse councils across the country, and we have a similar track record in Portland as well. Under the current match caps, candidates will not be able to meaningfully engage with the community and understand the desires and concerns of Portlanders. Elections are not just about who wins a race, but about a vibrant civic discourse. Elections are about reaching voters, and they cannot do so in under-resourced campaigns. It's best for democracy when Portlanders hear directly from candidates about what they stand for and what they plan to do in office. The small donor program is an investment in our democracy. This is an exceptional year where no less than 14 elections are being held due to the transition to the new council, hence the higher costs this year. Given the transition, it's more important than ever that we demonstrate the value of democracy to Portland voters, particularly those who have had barriers to participation and whose voices have been seldom heard, by appropriately funding, reclaiming my 15 seconds from the mayor's interjection.
You got it.
By appropriately funding the small donor elections program and other critical programs like the DCL programs and others that help open up government to all Portland residents. Thank you for your hard work on this budget, and we hope that you will increase the city's investment, collective investment in our future so that we can truly have vibrant communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcus. And DCL's in there, by the way.
All right. Thank you.
Good to see you, sir.
Good seeing everybody. Thank you, commissioners.
Next up, we have Kate Titus, Daniel Meek, and Diana Richardson. Kate, it's your turn to testify.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking this testimony. My name is Kate Titus, and I'm here on behalf of Common Cause, including our thousands of members here in Portland. And I'm here to speak about funding for Portland's small donor elections. I want to lift up why this really matters. Portland's small donor elections program provides a path for candidates to run without relying on wealthy donors or big money interests. It enables a more diverse candidate pool and, as a result, a more broadly reflective city council. It increases trust in city government. I think we all know this is what Portlanders want. The vast majority of Portlanders want to elect leaders who are not taking big donations from wealthy special interests or wealthy people for any reasons. In fact, I suspect that the only Portlanders who want big money influence on our elections are the big money interests themselves. And possibly some incumbents who take those big donations, but I hope not any of you. You have a decision before you. Responsibility for funding this program and for managing the charter city council expansion that's happening falls to you. You've now had a long lead time to allocate the additional funds needed to expand the small donor elections program for this expanded election that's happening now, that's increased from 3 races to 14 races. I don't know why you've neglected to do so thus far. I assume you have good reasons. I know you faced tough choices, but that failure to fully fund for the expansion is already undermining the program. This budget here is your last opportunity to responsibly fund this city election program for the current expanded election. The mayor's proposed budget, I see, provides no added funding.
All right. Thank you, Kate.
Next up, we have Daniel Meek, followed by Diana Richardson, followed by Ann Casper. Daniel, it's your turn to testify.
Hey, Dan.
Daniel, are you with us? think in that case, we'll move on to Diana Richardson. Diana, are you with us? In that case, we will move on to Ann Casper, followed by Frederica Banks, followed by Chris Hansen. Ann, it's your turn to testify. Moving on, Frederica Banks. Are you present? Can we hear from you now?
Can we stop for just a minute? Can we make, are these folks, are we verifying they are not online? Okay,
correct, Mayor.
So they're just not, okay, it just seems weird we'd have that many people in a row not be there. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Sam.
Okay. And now we'll hear from Chris Hansen. Chris, are you in the room?
No.
And now we'll hear from Brandon Falls, followed by Ty Fox, followed by Eric Clark. Brandon, we'll hear from you now if you're in the room.
I saw him online. Brandon, can you unmute?
I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Good.
I would like to comment on Portland Street Response and what a difference it's made in the ground level efforts daily in the city. I do a lot of outreach to houseless people, and there's a lot of houseless people that are willing to let street response come within their safety perimeter that they will not allow police to do, due to a lot of mistreatment and past experiences, to be fair. Also, I would like to comment on how vital it is to every single emergency we have net as part of Portland and our city's budget. Everything that happens every time we have an emergency, we have a shelter, we need something to go into effect. The people that step up and do it for free are net. So the funding they need to do the work for free seems like maybe we should be, willing to help. Thank you. And again, Portland Street Response is something that we've never had and is incredibly vital. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Next up, we have Ty Fox, followed by Eric Clark, followed by Alex Riedlinger. Ty, we'll hear from you now. If Ty is not present, next we'll move on to Eric. Eric, we'll hear from you now.
Here's Eric. Hi, Eric. Eric, can you hear us? We can't hear you. It doesn't look like you're muted, but for some reason we can't hear you.
Hello, friends. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Loud and clear.
My apologies.
No problem.
I almost made it to the building on time. My name is Reverend Eric Clark, and I am here today to ask you to please fully fund the Portland Street Response. Mara, a majority of my work is with people who are on the vulnerable end of our communities, and part of that is to accompany the Pacific Northwest Family Circle, which is an organization that accompanies family members who've lost loved ones to police violence. I know that you're well aware of the names of many of these people because they become a litany of public lament in the streets of our cities. Juanis Moose-Hayes, Andre Gladden, Patrick Kimmons, John Ellifritz, and far, 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 far too many others. It is unfortunately the case that most people who are vulnerable in our city are not safe, and their public safety is not increased when the police are involved. And if the Portland Street Response had been fully funded and available in most of these instances, their stories would be different and they would still be with us today. It may be the case that protests and settlement hearings and other things fade from the media cycle, but the grief of a mother does not fade. And when I have had to bear witness over years to this enduring grief, it has made me strongly convicted of the need that our city needs care, not cops. please fund this program to the point where it can be 24 hours citywide so that we can address those needs in a way that doesn't involve bullets being brought to bear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you being here.
Next up, we'll hear from Alex Riedlinger, followed by Trayla Lomax, followed by Debbie Kitchen. Alex, we'll hear from you now. Alex, are you with us today? If not, we'll hear next from Trayla Lomax. And if Trayla is not with us, we'll next hear from Debbie Kitchen.
I see Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Good afternoon, commissioners and mayor. Thank you for being here today and having this testimony. I'm Debbie Kitchen. I live in Sullivan's Gulch. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the proposed budget. I'm here to comment in favor of additional funding for Portland Street Response to the level where the program can operate 24/7. I want to thank the mayor for restoring some of the budget necessary for operations. And I also appreciate that this proposed budget replaces some temporary funding with ongoing funding, and that it fulfills another ask in the petition to save Portland Street Response by removing PSR out of the Fire Bureau, where we hope to see the program mature as a co-equal branch of our public safety system. While this budget offers hope and stabilization, it also represents one step forward after many steps backwards. Overall, this proposed budget is still $2.6 million less than PSR's budget last year, which was $10 million. So that's disappointing. I'm joining Friends of Portland Street Response and asking that our elected leaders listen to the community and fund PSR in this budget at $10 million, the same level of funding allocated to PSR last year. That would be maintaining current service levels, and we will not forget that PSR was fully funded for 24/7 expansion in 2022, but that was not fulfilled. This also left money for PSR on the table, as PSR must be expanded 24/7 as a requirement to receive federal funding. City Council has a gap in trust, I think, when it comes to your commitment to Portland Street Response. And we're asking that you rebuild that trust by committing to $10 million to PSR. And let's make sure the money is not shifted to other initiatives and it is protected. As PSR moves forward, we really hope you will reestablish the community collaboration and transparency that PSR was founded with. Mayor Wheeler, we appreciate that you have provided PSR a lifeline, but this is not enough. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Debbie.
Next up, we'll hear from Jonathan Frotzwig, followed by Kathleen Anson, followed by Nathan LaRudd. Jonathan, if you're here, we'll hear from you now.
He's here. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Mayor Wheeler, commissioners, for the record, my name is Jonathan Froxwijk. I'm the Public Policy Manager for Cascade AIDS Project, or CAP. And I'm just testifying today to thank you, Commissioners Mapps and Ryan, for proposing a budget amendment to maintain current staffing for the city's LGBTQ IA2S+ program, and to thank all of you in advance for your support of that amendment. Established in 2021, the LGBTQ IA2S+ program is still small, with just 2 staff members. But as you heard when you accepted its 10-year strategic plan in February, the program is already improving representation of and advocacy for Portland's LGBTQ+ community within city government. This work is particularly important in this moment as our community, and especially transgender and non-binary community members, are facing an unprecedented wave of attacks on our access to vital health care, among other basic rights. Your material support for LGBTQ equity efforts at the city, even in a challenging budget year, demonstrates that this council walks the talk when it comes to making Portland a truly safe and empowering place for LGBTQ+ people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Kathleen Anson, followed by Nathan LaRudd, followed by Debbie Castleton. Kathleen, we'll hear from you now. And if Kathleen is not with us, we'll move on to Nathan LaRudd next. And if Nathan is not with us, next we'll move on to Debbie Castleton. Debbie, are you in the room? If Debbie is not present, then next we have Dante Savage, followed by Hollis McClure, followed by Rita McCarthy. Dante, we'll hear from you now. And if Dante is not with us, next we will hear from Hollis. Hollis McClure, we'll hear from you now.
Hi, Hollis. Hollis, can you unmute? Hollis, it looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you for some reason. Sam, why don't we, let's hold Hollis, if you can hear me, come back to us in a few minutes and let's see if we can hear you better. We just can't hear you at the moment, but we definitely want to hear from you, so maybe we can troubleshoot that.
Mm-hmm. We'll come back to you afterwards. Next up, we have Rita McCarty, followed by Marianne Fitzgerald, followed by Mariah Hudson. Rita, we'll hear from you now.
Are you Rita? Yeah, I think Rita's coming. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
So appreciate talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking about the funding for gun control because I have quite a few ideas for gun control, background check, for criminal, for past gun violations, even from drug usage, because when people are under drugs, they don't have the ability to know what they're doing. So we need a heavy background check. And then before they go on to mandatory gun safety training, there should be a questionnaire where they can fill out. And the question be asked why they want a gun or need a gun. Then if the gun trainer proves his answers, he can go on to going on to gun safety training, which will be a fee there for them to do any gun owners to be gun owners. And try to make it fast. But if they don't, they should be mandatory to pass this gun test that they got trained. And if they don't pass it, they don't get a permit to own a gun. So I figure on budgeting the gun control is tax sports or anybody buys a gun, tax a little bit of tax. And these funds would be matching with the city and state and government. These are just ideas. I'm trying to be helpful on this. And as far as sporting good is concerned, people who don't own guns don't be faced with this tax. And I hope this was helpful to get the gun control on the way to save more lives. It's horrible. I had 3 shootings at my apartment. I'm scared of standing by the street waiting for my bus. I might get hit by a bullet or anybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate your being here today. Thank you for sharing the ideas.
Oh, you bet. I hope it's helpful.
It is helpful. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to circle back to Hollis McClure, followed by Marianne Fitzgerald, followed by Mariah Hudson. And this is just a quick reminder that when you are promoted to panelist, you need to accept accept your promotion to panelist in order to be unmuted. So just a quick reminder. But Hollis, we'll hear from you now.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hollis McClure. I've been a Portland resident for 42 years. I have been affected by gun violence, as well as 43 members of my family since 1982 have been affected by violence in Oregon. I'm here speaking for the fully funding the community violence intervention and letting the committee know that it was a win for small Black and brown nonprofits that do gun control prevention. I will say that it is woefully underfunded, and I would just speak to the fact that we need to utilize some more efforts in funding because the program did an absolutely amazing job this year, from my understanding. So I'm just here to speak about that and raise a voice for their funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Hollis.
Next up, we have Marianne Fitzgerald, followed by Mariah Hudson, followed by Lou Church. Marianne, we'll hear from you now.
Great, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and City Council members. I'm Marianne Fitzgerald, the president of Crestwood Neighborhood Association in Southwest Portland. Portland's facing many challenges, and we do hope that this budget and a new form of government will be more effective, efficient, and responsive than ever. Unfortunately, my testimony during the listening sessions was not heard, and you've heard a lot today about how much more we need to support a number of programs in Portland. Today, I want to focus on the Office of Community and Civic Life and the neighborhood system in Portland. Over the last 6 months or so, Commissioner Ryan and Mayor Wheeler have made decisions about the structure of the neighborhood system without consulting with the affected stakeholders, the neighborhoods themselves, like mine. Now, the neighborhoods in District 4 are trying to form a coalition while facing a 48% budget cut, and it's a mess. From my perspective, there are neither the staff nor the resources in the mayor's proposed budget to support Portland's neighborhood system as it has thrived in the past. I think 3 things need to happen. The district coalition grants need to account for the number of neighborhood associations they're expected to serve, not just the population. The one-time general funds in the mayor's budget for insurance are not enough. District 4 needs at least a $300,000 increase to maintain current service levels. Today, we are facing cuts that result in more administrative work for neighborhood volunteers like me, facing red tape rather than the time that we need to spend supporting our community. Second, both the DCO and Civic Life staff need to communicate more effectively with stakeholders before decisions are made. Yesterday, when I tried to communicate with the Neighborhoods West Northwest Board, I was shut down. Third, you should move the Office of Community and Civic Life to the service area, Community and Economic Development, to better align neighborhoods and volunteers with issues that affect livability in our neighborhoods. We want to build a vibrant community through volunteer partnerships. Please nurture a culture of civic engagement in our city. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne.
Next up, we have Mariah Hudson, followed by Lou Church, followed by Amy Wexler. Mariah, we'll hear from you now. Mariah, are you with us today? I think in that case, we'll move on to our next panelists. Lou Church, we'll hear from you now.
Angus, Ted, Renee, Dan, good to see you.
Welcome.
I'm Lou with Portland Gray Panthers. Portland Gray Panthers absolutely supports full funding for Portland Street Response and increased funding for the Small Donor Elections Program. We see that Megan Moyer, County Commission candidate, supports Medicaid 3-to-1 matching funds for PSR being 24/7, a good idea despite apparent opposition by Renee Gonzalez. We're heartened by Willamette Weeks endorsing both Shannon Singleton and Megan Moyer for County Commission, despite the Oregonians' endorsement of that crypto-fascist candidate Sam Adams, also known as Donald Trump Light. Two items that should not impact the budget. On gun violence, many local leaders have endorsed the Walmart boycott to end gun violence, including Oregon City Mayor Denise McGriff, Sharon Myron, Duncan Huang, Ashton Simpson, Keith Wilson, Liv Othos, and Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. Another non-dollar request. This week, we distributed a packet, Shaw just told me he got it at Renee's office, to council on a Palestine resolution for a ceasefire. Multnomah County Commissioners endorsed 5-0 a ceasefire resolution. We urged Portland City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. As students have chanted in state after state and country after country, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Next up, we have Amy Wexler, followed by Tiago Moreno, followed by Simone Nagli. Amy, we'll hear from you now.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. Mayor Ted Wheeler, Commissioners, my name is Amy Wexler, and I'm the Oregon co-chair for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I'm also a parent, a lawyer, a resident of the Sabin neighborhood, and a voter. I have been involved in the gun violence prevention movement since 2015, working to create community safety through community, not over-policing communities. I'm testifying today to urge both violence prevention funding and Portland street response be prioritized in the 24-25 city budget. The alarming jump in Portland's homicide rate in 23, reaching 4 times the level of 2016, proves the urgent need for the city to take proactive measures. Despite a 16% reduction in homicides from the previous year, the city still grapples with violence. While police shootings were down in 2023, resulting in 2 deaths, down from 5 in 2022 and 4 in 2021, this is still too many. We need professionals trained in de-escalation arriving when someone is in a mental health crisis, not armed officers. These homicide statistics highlight the critical importance of investing in both the Office of Violence Prevention and Portland Street Response. Portland Street Response works to ensure that responses to situations involving mental health, substance use, and homelessness are addressed by professionals trained in calming situations so that a 911 call does not end in death. Additionally, community violence prevention programs currently funded by the city through the Office of Violence Prevention work directly with families and neighborhoods most impacted by gun violence, providing street-level community outreach and conflict mediation, job training, trauma and mental health support, and more. I urge you to maintain and increase community violence intervention grant funding for community-based organizations and grant funding on an ongoing basis, not just for 1 year, and fund the Portland Street Response to $10 million as PSR has requested in the upcoming budget. The City of Portland needs to stay the course on prevention in order to continue to reduce gun violence. Thank you so much for allowing me to testify.
Thank you for being here.
Next up, we have Tiago Moreno, followed by Simone Nagli, followed by Steph Ruth. Tiago, we'll hear from you now. And if Tiago is not in the in the council chamber, next we'll hear from Simone. And if Simone is not in the council chamber, we will hear from Steph.
Here comes Steph. Welcome.
Mayor Wheeler, members of City Council, for the record, my name is Steph Rouse. I'm excited to be on this side of the dais because I have the honor of serving on the Planning Commission. So this is a great excuse, and what better excuse than to support public Portland Street Response. And before I do that, very hopeful about the single permitting authority. Thank you very much. We have heard on the Planning Commission that it's very wonderful and easy to build housing in LeGrand. Endorse Mr. Mundy's testimony regarding small donor elections with a different hat. I have the joy of being a city council candidate and thrilled about the Office of Small Business. But I'm here today as a friend of Portland Street Response and also as a proud lentil. As you know, the Lentz neighborhood was the demonstration neighborhood for Portland Street Response. And when it looked like the funding was going to be curtailed last year, I went to the Lentz Farmers Market and passed around a petition to folks. And generally, I mean, to a person, everyone that I connected with had said just what a wonderful and important program, Portland Street Response, how transformative it was for our neighborhood to know that there was a kind and compassionate, response that would allow police to do the work that they need to do and allow Portland Street Response to do the work that they need to do. And so I would love, please fund it up to $10 million. I know that it's 7.4. I know you have a lot of needs on you, but $10 million is the least. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Shauna Canote, followed by Jules Boykoff, followed by Sarah Fisher. Shauna, we'll hear from you now. And if Shauna is not in the council chamber, we'll move on to Jules. Jules, we'll hear from you now.
Welcome, Jules.
Thank you. My name is Jules Boykoff. I'm a Portland resident and professor of political science at Pacific University. For years, I've been volunteering at Street Roots, so I understand the crisis of homelessness in our city from the ground level. I have the good fortune of occasionally traveling for work, and whether I'm in Vancouver, BC, Los Angeles, or Austin, Texas, people marvel at the fact that right here in Portland, we started a non-police response system for people experiencing crisis on the streets. They want similar programs in their cities. So what we've done in Portland is bigger than Portland, but I urge you to push further. Mayor Wheeler's proposed budget that rejects the cuts to PSR proposed by Commissioner Gonzalez is a positive step in the right direction. And replacing some temporary funding with ongoing funding is also a huge positive. But let's be clear, we need to fund PSR in this budget at $10 million, the same level of funding that was allocated to PSR last year. Let's do it for our neighbors experiencing crisis who do not want or need the police to intervene. Let's do it to acknowledge the great work that Portland Street Response is already doing. And let's do it for the rest of the country so we can show them that good governance can happen and that it is possible to think outside the box when it comes to policing. One final point. As we meet today, a wave of authoritarianism is sweeping the country and the wider world. Democracy is under siege. The people of Portland have made it absolutely clear to you that they not only want to continue Portland Street Response, but wish to increase its funding so that it can run 24/7. Should you fail to live up to this overwhelming demand from the public, you'll be feeding the dangerous sentiment that the government doesn't listen to everyday people, that it is not there to help the many, but instead to assist the few. This is your chance to create a positive legacy as we move into a new system of governance, and I urge you respectfully to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Sarah Fisher, followed by Jared Coffey, followed by Claire Turner. Sarah, we'll hear from you now.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners. I am Sarah Fisher. I'm an Episcopal priest, street chaplain in East Portland, and a friend of Portland Street Response. I am very grateful for the mayor's budget that stabilizes Portland Street Response and grounds it in our public safety system. That's awesome. And the proposed funding level, as you have heard, is below the $10 million budgeted last year and far below the amount needed to expand Portland Street Response to 24/7 citywide coverage, as was previously approved by council in 2022. You all know why Portland Street Response is important. It leaves our police force free to protect Portlanders from theft and violent crime. It is a unique resource for people needing support during nonviolent behavioral crises, and it is a 911 option that ensures that all Portlanders are treated with dignity and care. If I had more time, I would tell you more about my friend Suzanne. Suffice it to say that a few weeks ago, I called Portland Street Response and reported that many of her friends were very concerned about her. A few days later, I ran into her and she said, I was going crazy, her language, the other night, but some people found me and helped me. I thought they were going to lock me up, but they just wanted to make sure that I was okay. Keeping people safe in their worst moments is not enabling, it is compassion. Portland Street Response leads with love and compassion. This has never been more important in our city than it is now. Things are messy and hard, people are cynical and angry and afraid. We need a service which is going to lead with love and respect the dignity of every human being. Please make this possible.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Jared Coffey, followed by Claire Turner, followed by Trey Savage.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here and not having to do this over Zoom. My name is Jared Coffey. Yes, I'm wearing a Street Roots hat, but I am an independent vendor. I do not speak for Street Roots. I'm Coffey, the dirty hippie freak on YouTube. Love is the only thing that will save us. Compassion is the only thing that will save us. And I am grateful to you, Mayor, for making sure that at least 7.4 million was there. But to call that continuing the ability of them to function at current levels is not exactly an honest statement. There needs to be at least $10 million, but that's not 24 hours. And that's why we're losing the federal money, because it's not 24 hours. And so hopefully we can recognize that cutting it was not the solution. And that if you're going to go to an emergency room, it's going to cost you. But if you go to an urgent care, they can take care of you much more reasonably. And if you send out the police and an emergency response unit with guns, that's expensive. But if you send out Portland Street Response, you're saving money. I think that's a very simple thing to focus on. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Claire Turner, followed by Trey Savage, followed by Amy Randall. Claire, we'll hear from you now.
Megan would know.
How many more do we have, Megan?
And if Claire isn't in the council chamber, next we'll go on to Trey Savage.
About 13.
Trey?
13.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I need to go.
Trey, we'll hear from you now if you're in the council chamber.
Not here.
Next, we'll move on to Amy Randall.
Here's Amy. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
With the other members of GTAC, Zach Curl and Destiny Magana Pablo, we asked if we could testify together, and my colleague Juliet is in the bathroom.
Did you want to wait for a minute then?
Yeah, maybe we can be next.
Yeah, Sam, could you wait maybe 5 minutes and then recall them?
Absolutely. In that case, we'll hear from Ravi Saxena, followed by Stephen Udiks, followed by Zach Curl. Ravi, we'll hear from you now.
Hey,
We
Sam.
have
Sam,
Dante
I think
raising
the
his hand.
is that your friend there? Yeah, why don't you come on up and do it now? Was there somebody online you also wanted to testify? Two people?
Yes, Dante Savage
Okay,
is available
okay.
online.
And was there,
Zach Curl, and Destiny Magana Pablo.
so Zach and Destiny are online and they'd like to testify with these two
After us.
individuals?
Yeah.
Great. If you could just state your names for the record. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for having us. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. My name is Amy Randall, and I'm a co-chair of the Government Transition Advisory Committee, or GTAC. I'm here with my co-chair, Juliet Hyams, and our past co-chairs, Destiny Magana Pablo and Zach Curl. The GTAC is a group of Portlanders you appointed in March of 2023. We act as the primary community engagement and advisory body for Portland's government transition. You didn't have to create GTAC. You chose to in recognition that the community advice on transition would be of value. We spent the past 14 months researching, engaging Portlanders, and deliberating on and reaching agreements on key recommendations that we believe are crucial to the success of our new government. We currently have 4 sets of recommendations to city leadership regarding council staffing, onboarding, district offices, and community engagement, all with budget implications. We testified to all 4 sets of recommendations during the budget listening sessions. We appreciate last week's council responded to our recommendations in writing. We want to start by thanking the mayor for resourcing the charter transition in the proposed budget. The proposed budget includes $1.5 million in carryover and one-time allocations for almost all of the $2 million. The work of the transition team is essential for the success of the new charter in 2025. We also want to thank the mayor for including $500,000 in one-time resources for the crucial onboarding of the new electeds. The city's planning and development of a cohesive and robust onboarding process is crucial for the success of the new leadership. I'll see my time here.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. As Amy said, my name is Juliette Hyams, and I am her counterpart as the other co-chair of the GTAC, and you know what that stands for now. Thank you for your letter acknowledging our committee's budget priorities. That includes your support for hiring a community engagement officer as soon as possible. We are now working confidently with staff on the community engagement discipline, including reviewing recommendations from our budget work group about improving community engagement in the city's budget process. We are, however, disappointed that the proposed budget does not staff either individual councilors or shared council operations to support effective legislative development and community engagement in our new form of government. As we mentioned at the budget listening sessions, our staffing recommendations are based on sound research of peer cities. Constituents is a word I can't say, but they expect our new government to provide more opportunities for participation and greater accountability. However, to date, this council has deprived future councilors of adequate support and funding to realize those expectations. Funding just a single staffer per councilor underestimates the demands on Portland's first officials elected by the new system, which is intended to better serve and engage community than the current system. We believe this proposed budget leaves councilors drastically under-resourced in overseeing committee business as well as their growth into their new positions. As councilors optimize their new roles, they will need adequate support and funding from the start. We ask again that at a minimum, you add 1 more staff per councilor, which is what you adopted in your own November 1st organizational structure resolution. Thank you for considering our input.
Thank you. And then there's 2 folks online. Destiny, are you next? And then Zach?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and Juliet and Amy. For the record, my name is Destiny Magaña Pablo, an outgoing co-chair of GTAC. We are disappointed that the mayor's proposed budget doesn't resource either of our district office recommendations. First, we recommended that the city fund a robust community engagement about programming in these offices before the permanent decision on district offices is made by the future council. And second, we recommend temporary low-cost offices available in each district beginning January 1st, 2025. Based on the input from the city's Division of Asset Management, the GTAC recommends that council cap the total one-time capital investment across all 4 district offices at $150,000 total and $150,000 annually total. We understand that the city's Division of Asset Management recently recommended that council suspend the search for temporary in-district offices and instead resume the project once the future council is seated and can lead community engagement to inform the designed program. Council shared with us that it supports that recommendation. If that's the case, we don't understand why the resources for the community engagement are not in the budget if the new council, once seated, is expected to plan the offices. And considering the extremely limited staffing support currently budgeted, we strongly recommend this council allocates the resources to do so. We want to clarify this point so that we can explain it in the course of our outreach and presentations to the community. While the GTAC's recommendation is still to have temporary low-cost district offices in January, we ask that at a minimum, you set aside funds for community engagement to intentionally inform their design, program, and their proposed goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Destiny. Hey, Zach.
Hi, thank you, Commissioners and Mayor. For the record, my name is Zach Curl. I'm one of the Government Transition Advisory Committee's outgoing co-chairs. I'd like to reflect on our commitment to reconcile the needs and desires of the public with the realities of city government systems and its financial limitations. For over a year, GTAC has listened to and deliberated on many aspects of the transition and provided you with a set of recommendations that we collectively agreed
would contribute to a more effective and efficient transition. These recommendations reflect the voiced concerns of the community around the future accessibility and visible presence of city policymakers in district, and the need for properly resourcing a new council to be successful on day one. We feel this budget sets an important precedent for the city's commitment to upholding the ideals of the voter-approved charter amendments. We celebrate the current city council and mayor's commitment to funding the transition team and dedicating resources towards the onboarding of new elected officials and a new engagement officer. However, there are key areas where GTAC would like to see the investment from the city. As highlighted by my fellow committee members, GTAC advises this council to propose amendments that at minimum fund an additional staff member for each counselor to support future council responsibilities and a robust community engagement process to inform design and programming of any future district office. We appreciate the difficulties of balancing priorities in a constrained fiscal year, but we hope that you see fit to invest in the future success of this new government. On behalf of the Government Transition Advisory Committee, we thank you for considering our recommendations.
Thank you. Appreciate all four of you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Now we'll circle back to hearing from Dante Savage, followed by Stephen Udzes, and then followed by Katie Sawicki. So Dante, we'll hear from you now.
Welcome, Dante.
Can you hear?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about my camera. My phone just fell and my camera just broke.
Oh.
But but the thing about it is I'm calling in to you guys. Just being a Portland native, my family been here since the 1940s. Lived in Vanport, etc. But I was just reaching out because I know there's a lot of things that's going on with gun violence. I'm a victim of it. Like seeing my family grow up in Northeast Portland. And I seen the highs and the lows of the city for all these years. And, it affected me a lot because my niece, Janice Savage, her mother was Asia Bell. She got killed because of gun violence. A lot of my cousins got killed in gun violence. And the reason why I was calling is just to tell you guys that I think, especially in the Black and brown community, that it needs more outlets, to get kids off the street and have more healthy outlets for these guys. Because when I was a kid, I feel like we have more things to do for young adults and teenagers so they can stay out the streets. And then now when I see coming back to Portland for all these years, because I left home when I was 17, I see there's nothing really going on in the community for teenagers and things like that. And I think that funding will help, with the black and brown nonprofits, fully funding community violence interventions was a win for small and brown, Black and brown nonprofits that do the gun violence prevention. Real Oregonians know the community safety starts with investing in violence prevention, sustainable. In order to make a real impact with the must continue to work, and even when we see a decrease. But like just me in general, I'm speaking for my niece Asia. But yeah, we good to go.
Thank you, Dante.
No problem. You take care, sir.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Next, we'll hear from Stephen, followed by Katie Sawicki, followed by Melissa Kodislecki. Stephen, are you with us? If they're not, then next we're going to move on to hear from Katie Sawicki. Katie, are you with us? And if Katie's not with us, we'll next hear from Melissa Kodislecki, followed by Amanda Pham Haynes, followed by Terry. Melissa, we'll hear from you now.
I think the weather may have conspired against us a little bit here today.
In that case, we'll next hear from Amanda. Amanda, are you with us today? If Amanda's not here, we'll move on to hear from Terry Harris, followed
There's Terry.
by Terry.
Hi, thanks for doing this. I'm Terry Harris from Hillsdale. I'm a member of GTAC, who you just heard from, and they did great, and I concur with everything they said. But at the moment, I'm just going to speak for myself. Thank you for this opportunity. And as you know, I'm deeply concerned that this budget massively underfunds the new mayor and council and the new government. I just want to point out that the budget you're considering today is notably a budget that establishes the structure for the new government in July. Indeed, you've appointed an interim city administrator, you've created service areas, you've appointed interim deputy city administrators to manage them. In this budget, you've funded their offices starting July 1st. What you don't do on July 1st, though, is reduce your own staff. As you know, this budget provides new council members with one dedicated staffer each for a total of 12 starting in January. But until January, this budget has each current commissioner budgeted 7 staff each for a total of 28. And these numbers are similar in the mayor's office. But to be clear, the current mayor and council staffing is well within a normal range for peer cities. The new council staffing would be the lowest that we've seen. Now, the reason you haven't reduced your staff, even though you're essentially implementing the new government structure, is you still need your staff. So of all people, surely you should understand what you are not providing to the new mayor and council when they start in January. What this budget does is it takes fundamental, basic capabilities for legislative activity, oversight, and constituent service and siphons it into the bureaucracy where it's insulated from voters. The city voted for this new council structure, and we need it to be successful. This budget's underfunding of the council is a disservice to the new council and a huge disservice to the city. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Isaac McLennan, followed by Jesse Marks. Isaac, we'll hear from you now.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Isaac McLennan. I'm the president of the Portland Firefighter Association. I'm here, first of all, thank you to Mayor Wheeler and the rest of City Council for hosting this listening session. I think these are really important to hear from the community. I just want to say how I personally, as a firefighter for 21 years here, I am greatly pleased to read and hear that not only has the Fire Bureau been fully funded, we also are continuing to allow daily staffing to maintain at 171 firefighters across the city of Portland. That means that every neighborhood fire station is going to have the right number of firefighters there to respond for any and all hazards. And I think this is really important. And I want to thank the mayor, the Commissioner Gonzalez, and the rest of City Council. I hope the continued support goes forward. And I know there's work to be done because, as you know, forced mandatory overtime, while this budget is going to be passed, is still going to be a problem this year over the summer and over extreme parts of the year when we are stressed the most when in high weather conditions, whether it be heat or ice. And so the work will continue, and I look forward to working with the new city government in those regards. And for now, so thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Isaac. We appreciate the partnership. Thank you.
And next we'll hear from Jess Marks. And Jess, this is just a reminder to accept your promotion to panelist in order for us to unmute you.
Hi, Jess. Can you hear us?
Hi, thank you to the mayor and to the city council for funding gun violence prevention. For the record, my name is Jess Marks and I'm with the Oregon Alliance for Gun Safety. I also live in Portland. I was very glad to see the city prioritize funding gun violence prevention. Portlanders continue to say that community safety is one of, if not the most important issue facing our city. And gun violence is disproportionately affecting our Black, Latino, and tribal communities. Research shows prevention and early intervention is the key to stopping gun violence and preventing the rippling effects from affecting communities across generation. It's urgent the city continues to fund and support those organizations doing the on-the-ground work. I was grateful to see full funding in the budget, and I also want to note it's not enough. Other cities are putting $10 to $20 million per year into violence prevention. I urge the city to work with the state and continue to prioritize gun violence prevention going forward in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now we've reached the end of our panelists. I'm just going to quickly walk through everybody who was signed up to participate but has not gotten the chance to speak yet, just to make sure that we haven't missed anyone who was in the Zoom room or live in person in the hearing. Scott, since you have your hand raised, do you want to go first? We promote Scott to panelist.
I think Scott's here.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Just Scott Moore. Sorry. I know it'd be that fast. Just get my notes. Thank you. My name is Scott Moore. I am the Community Affairs Officer at Quest Center for Integrative Health. For over 30 years, one second, I'm on both. That's not good. Apologies. For over 30 years, Quest Center has provided physical and behavioral health services to some of the most vulnerable and marginalized populations living in Portland metropolitan area. Born out of the desperate need of people living with HIV and AIDS, we now provide integrative healthcare services, community, and education to all people seeking a wellness-folk approach to living and dying. For more than 70% of our clients are low-income and/or medically uninsured or underinsured. Quest Center applauds the City of Portland's efforts in recent years to acknowledge and stand up for the LGBTQIA2S+ policy program in the Office of Equity and Human Rights. We urge you to fully fund both staff positions in the city's program. As it stands, the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-25 requested fails to permanently fund both existing positions. Overall, having an LGBTQ policy staff in Portland City's government is essential for promoting equality, addressing disparities, and building a more inclusive and supportive city for all of its residents. The presence of LGBTQ policy staff is critical to facilitating education and training initiatives for city staff and officials to promote understanding and sensitivity towards LGBTQ issues. We additionally applaud the city as it works with Multnomah County to stand up a stabilization sobering center and initiates new 4002 deflection programs in Multnomah County with the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office. These initiatives aimed at diversion hinge greatly on entities extending the opportunity to individuals in need. Questions regarding who qualifies for diversion or faces arrest versus redirection to the sobering center or entry into the deflection program underscores the significance of thoughtful and program implementation and equitable access to services and support for all. We urge you to fully staff that policy positions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Aaron Meachan, and then if they are present, we'll hear from Jorge Bautista and then Calder Cannon. Aaron, are you with us?
Aaron, we can see you as a panelist. You should be able to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. We hear you, Aaron. Hello, Aaron?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler, City Council. I just wanted to, my name is Aaron Meehan. I live in Gresham, Oregon, and I appreciate your acceptance of a permanent spot for the budget for the Portland Street response. I just would like to implore all of the folks that are making decisions on the budget regarding houselessness, mental health issues, and issues with encampments and things on our street to spend a night outside. If that's too drastic, take a max ride. Being part of the community and seeing it, being a homeless person at one point in myself, it's just a different world. And so, before you make decisions on our budget, for the public safety, take a moment and spend some time where it's closest to the problem, because those folks have the things that are closest to the solution. Those that are closest to the problem. Portland Street Response understands that. They've been a great addition to assist with the 911 calls, and I just really support them having a larger budget than 10 million even, but at least the 10 million to keep them 24 hours. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Jorge Bautista, if they're with us. And if Jorge's not with us, we'll move on to Calder Cannon. Then if Calder's not with us today, we'll move on to Jen Barth. And if Jen is not with us today, we'll hear from Daniel Meek. And if Daniel's not with us today, we'll hear from Diana Richardson. Next, if Diana's not here today, then we'll hear from Ann Casper. So just quickly going through the rest of the names to make sure we're getting the opportunity to hear from everybody that's present. Frederica Banks, Chris Hansen, we have Becca raise. Oh, Becca's raising their hand.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hello. Some of you I've met before, some of you it's the first time, but it's nice to meet you all. My name is Becca Reyes Geislinger. I am a homeowner in East Portland, and I'm here today in support of Portland Street Response because it works. Depending on where you look at your statistics, up to 97% of people who are connected through Portland Street Response don't then need to get assistance from other agencies. In your budget, you talked about how overtime with emergency services has been a major expense that nobody wants. It makes sense to me for Portland Street Response to become 24/7, so that one, we could tap into federal money. That would be great. And two, so that we can decrease the demands on other emergency service providers. If stats are showing us that Portland Street Response is helping people not make those calls, then we should support the cheaper option here. That's where I would like my taxes to go. And looking through the budget, I was seeing other things that I'm no expert, but don't make sense to me. Like, I don't know why the golf courses need a $7 million you know what I'm saying. I don't think that the golf courses need so much money set aside in case an emergency happens for a golf course. They have a $22 million budget already. Why do they need $7 million? That word that starts with a C that you budget people know. Yeah, but I appreciate being here. I appreciate you meeting with us all. I really like Portland Street Response. I think it's something unique that we did as a city. I stand behind it. And I hope you will too. I hope you'll make it go 24/7, and I hope at least that we'll have the same funding as last year of the $10 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next, we'll hear from Ty Fox. Just reading through the rest of the names who signed up. We have Trayla Lomax, We have Kathleen Anson. We have Nathan Larud. Debbie Castleton. Mariah Hudson. Tiago Moreno. Simone Nagli. Shauna Canote. Claire Turner. Trey Savage. Katie Sawicki. Melissa Kodeslecki.
Hey, Sam, not to intervene, but could I just see a show of hands in the chamber? Is there anybody here who believes they're signed up and they haven't had a chance to speak yet? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people here. Could we see a show of hands online? Is it possible for people to raise their hands if they believe they can speak? No? Okay, so Sam, we've got 4 here, and why don't we do them first? And then if we've got anybody online? Who's not signed up?
Sounds good, Mayor.
We just want to verify though that folks who have signed up so that we make sure that we have their information. So for folks in the council, just making sure that you have signed up prior to this evening.
Everybody else on the list except Amanda, they.
Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. Go ahead.
I thought that was really helpful.
I thought it was too, but apparently it was.
And then last name on the list, Amanda Pham Haynes. And if Amanda's not there, then that's our full list.
Okay, so, and there's 4 people here who'd like to testify for 2 minutes each. Why don't you come up, tell us your name for the record, one at a time. Just, 3 of you come up and 1 be on standby. 2 minutes each, name for the record, please. Welcome, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
All set. Yeah.
You can all come on.
Yeah.
We usually have lots of chairs here. It's a little sterile today, sorry. Would you like to go first?
Yes, please. My name is Diane Kiefhofer. I'm a retired attorney. I was a domestic violence attorney for the state of Montana for 10 years. So I'm familiar with how the courts work and the police work and how violence works and destroys people. I'm here also to support street response in that street response saves lives and it saves the city money. In 2020, $675 million was spent. I'm sorry, I got the wrong note there. Okay, in 2020 alone, the Portland Police Bureau had to settle lawsuits, one for some for $3 million worth of wrongful death claims, $675 million in excessive force claims. And if this $975 million had been used to fund street response, we wouldn't have had that problem. So street response definitely saves lives and saves money. The 975 would fund street response with love, compassionate care that people love. And there was only 1 arrest in 3 years, compared to police PBB showing up in riot gear, making 371 an unnecessary arrests, scaring and already traumatized people. We need street response. We don't need more cops.
Thank you.
Fund street response at 10 million, and then that they need to care for the people of Portland, something that PPP cannot or will not do.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you. I did sign up and I have a confirmation, but I guess didn't
That's
show
fine.
up.
And what's your name for the record, please?
My name is Ann Bowie.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and City Commissioners for your time. My name is Ann Bowie, and I'm a Portland resident, parent to 2 young Portlanders, and I also work for the Immigrant Refugee Community Organization, helping to organize our Diversity Civic Leadership Program. Last month, when I testified in support of preserving the funding for this program, I was not optimistic. I was not optimistic because in the past, when facing tough budget constraints, it would have been easy to cut a program serving historically underrepresented populations. This is a pattern that our communities almost expect to happen, which contributes to a cynicism where people feel the government are not responsive to their needs and affects their willingness to be civically engaged. I encounter this cynicism with every new cohort to the program, and it's a testament to their dedication to serving their community that in the face of such cynicism, they still show up determined and hopeful, which is why I think this decision proposed in your budget to not only preserve but grow the program's budget for this next year is a resounding affirmation by you, Mayor, and Commissioners that their hounded hope was not in vain. And on behalf of those going through the program right now and who will benefit from this program in the future, I want to express my gratitude for that. I recognize the challenges you face in balancing this budget, and I want to assure you that all this investment will reap major rewards and benefit all of Portland. In the face of so much change happening right now, it's important to have some continuity. With this funding, we will be able to deepen our work and get people connected to their new council members, city bureaus, neighborhood associations, and more, while building up their skills and knowledge to advocate on behalf of their community. Then there's the intangible effect. With this investment, I am confident that we can transform the community's deep-seated cynicism to a contagious optimism and authentic belief that the city can work for them. And I believe that when the city works for those who are most marginalized, it can work for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, you all know me. Charlie Michelle Wesley, former Police Accountability Commissioner, tribal member of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, here on this indigenous land. First, I'm always really feel that it's important to review the city's values. And so the one I'm going to read right now is fiscal responsibility. Because everything I did on the Police Accountability Commission was to meet those values that unfortunately y'all didn't see it the same way. So fiscal responsibility, commitment, dedicate yourself to the details while working within a public budget. Resources appropriately, consider how decisions will impact populations negatively, impacted by fiscal decisions historically and are most systemically oppressed. So I fit into that oppressed category in many different ways. I'm a recovering alcoholic addict. I am stable with my mental health. I have been houseless, and I do outreach with the houseless. And I want to tell you a couple of their names. Michael, who was sitting in rubble when I went to see if I could meet some of his needs. And he was hungry, and I fed him, and I provided with other needs that he needed. And he just told me, he looked up at me because I asked his name, and there was a little glimmer that someone actually fucking cared. And he just started crying. And he said, I just want to get my shit together.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to do a quick reminder that since this is being recorded, we have to keep it for all audiences.
Got you. The point is that the mentally ill, are not the only mentally ill. The houseless suffer trauma. The addictive suffer trauma. In fact, trauma often led to this from childhood. These are all mental health issues. And sending an armed officer, okay, so we have militarized our police. And what is the military created for? To fight enemies, so-called enemies. So now our police's enemies are us. Portland street response is the solution. And there's a ton of
Again, I'm
money
sorry
out
to
there.
interrupt. We have our council chamber that's muted, and we've also elapsed time. So I'd ask if it's possible to go ahead and unmute council chamber, and we'll move on to the next person.
Thank you.
My name is Bruce Nelson. I'm going to change gears completely. I don't think I'll apologize for that. I want to thank you very much to the mayor, to Commissioner Rubio and Commissioner Ryan for advocating and allowing to happen.
We'll need to have the council chamber unmuted. Those on Zoom are unable to hear the testimony that's happening in person.
Are we muted? Just one sec.
Sure.
Just the camera. Is it just the
Is
microphone?
it the mic?
Can you see if the red light's on? Sorry.
Does this one work?
Can you hear us, Jen? Can you hear me? No. So something weird happened. Did somebody drop something on a button?
There we go. Now we're able to hear it.
You
Thank
can hear now?
Okay. Can I hear myself?
You can start all over. if
All
you
right,
like.
thanks. My name is Bruce Nelson. I'm a volunteer member of the Urban Forestry Commission. I volunteer with Friends of Trees, and I'm also a member of Trees for Life Oregon. So trees are something I like. I want to thank Commissioner Rubio and Commissioner Ryan and Mayor Wheeler for bringing forward to Portland for the first time in at least 80 years the reality of street tree maintenance that's paid for in part, or will be paid for in part, by the city. In the Portland archives, the first mention I found of that goes back to 1944, where the Parks Director or Commissioner was thinking that might be a good way to go. So I really appreciate that effort. This will be historic for Portland. We will join a number of cities that are the size of Portland in finally taking that responsibility away from the adjacent property owner. So thank you very much for allowing that to start. I do have questions about the allocation of $35 million of PSEF funds over the next 5 years going for being substituted for general fund use for urban forestry. I am not sure I understand the rationale under which that $7 million can be used for general purposes by urban forestry. Quite a good bit of the budget of urban forestry is coming from funds where there is a specific designated use. And I think if those designated uses are met, I'm not sure there's $7 million left in the urban forestry budget that would qualify for PSEF funds. Subject to interpretation, I'm sure it's all up to lawyers, but anyway, that's my reservation. But I really appreciate the street tree funding that's finally begun. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So Sam, does that, to the best of your knowledge, complete our public testimony?
That does. That completes our list.
All right, very good. I want to thank you, and I want to thank Jen. I will give my colleagues an opportunity, if they'd like to say anything at this point, to let them say something before we close out.
Sure.
Commissioner Maps, go for it.
Oh, I thought I was first.
Oh, good. Go ahead, Commissioner Ryan. That's fine. I
Fine.
don't care.
Well, I just was looking at the rental show. Yeah, it's voting order.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'll
I
go.
don't have
That's
that
okay.
in front of me. I trust you.
But Mayor, I want to actually start by thanking you for your leadership during this tough budget session. You definitely collectively listened during our meetings we've had with the public, and a lot of adjustments were made. And I want to thank everyone who came to testify today. It really does matter, and how wonderful, how many people were here on this beautiful day. So that says a lot. I must add a special thank you to the members of GTAC for your service and also for your sage comments. And one quick feedback, just FYI, I see you're still here. Golf does not get any tax dollars. I know it's hard to track that in the budget, the line items. It collects all its revenue from golf fees. So just know that. I'm relieved as I look to my right that this balanced budget solved ongoing gaps with both PBOT and fire. You two must be quite pleased with that.
I still have a gap in Peabody, but.
Sure, but it came a long way. I'm relieved that it also continues funding for key programs focused on homelessness that have been funded through ARPA dollars, including Portland Street Response and Safe for Us Villages, the policy I passed in 2021 that is now lifted as a better practice for shelters since it is getting results. It's the innovation of these ARPA dollars should be celebrated by both of these programs, and we are doing that with this budget. That being said, we need to fully understand what the city is paying for homeless services. I'll be adding a budget note asking for that information. I think we can all appreciate how PSEF dollars helped this budget, and I look forward to having a constructive conversation next Tuesday on how we can continue to leverage the fund to get climate responsive results we deserve from these investments. But there's still work to do. First, park rangers have evolved to be an integral part of the first response system, and as such should be outside of the 5% budget cuts, just as police, fire, and Portland Street Response are. I will be bringing an amendment to offset the current cuts to our first responders in our parks, park rangers. Second, I have long supported and in fact been adamant, as it was my first bold action shortly after taking office in the fall of 2020, to consolidate our development permitting work and streamlining that function to better serve the community. That work is coming to fruition thanks to a lot of hard work on the part of staff that I put in the budget 3 years ago to align those resources. We call them the cat herders. And the handoff to Commissioner Rubio to see this through has been smooth and successful. That said, as we've discovered, transitions are hard. One of the unanticipated consequences is the unfunded overhead model for these new integrated permitting system. And as a result, there is a funding gap that needs a strategic investment to make this transition fair. I do not think raising permitting fees is justified to cover internal accounting. There is additional work that needs to happen here prior to the adoption of this budget. Lastly, I treasure the work coming from the LGBTQ+ team in the Office of Equity and Human Rights. I'm happy to partner with Commissioner Mapps on bringing an amendment to continue funding both positions. One remark I want to make for the record, this budget only includes $65 million in incremental PSEF investments to the tree canopy over 5 years. This is $35 million less than previously communicated. Lastly, we need to ensure the intent of the parks levy stays true. This was overwhelmingly passed by Portlanders in 2020 to bring additional services to our parks and recreation. This should not be used to fund general fund reductions to parks. Colleagues, I want to thank you for your partnership. I also want to thank my staff for their hard work. And again, thank you all for being here this afternoon.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I think I'm mostly going to comment on some of the testimony we heard today, although as a threshold matter, want to recognize the collaboration with the mayor's office on the public safety budget. We are in a much better place than we were 3 months ago when we started to analyze different scenarios. That carries over for Portland Police, for Portland Fire, PSR, and chat. Just a number of areas of progress there. And I'm deeply appreciative. I think it's going to stabilize public safety for the foreseeable future. Not that all gaps have been addressed, but meaningful work was done to address some of the most significant ones. Small donor program, boy, this one's a tough one. You know, when voters were proposed a ballot measure in 2018, it passed overwhelmingly to reduce caps on contributions in city elections. Like many ballot measures, it overpromised and underdelivered, not because they weren't well-intentioned, but because of a Supreme Court case called Citizens United. And I would humbly submit that that ballot measure has been a mammoth failure. It has not reduced big money in elections. It's just changed the way it's spent, putting it into independent expenditures. That wasn't created by this mayor. That wasn't created by this council. That was created by voters with big promises from advocates that have largely been undelivered. I'm putting that out there because as we, evaluate what to do in this election cycle, that's part of the context. Candidates don't really have a meaningful alternative to participating in the small donor program. They're stuck. There's no choice. And some of the other factors here, small donors program, the Election Commission was given a number of opportunities to accurately project what the cost of this new form of government would be. We gave them that opportunity as recently as last summer when we were evaluating whether to send back to voters to reduce the size of council from 12 to 8. Repeatedly, they failed to adequately project the cost of the new form of government, specifically respect to the small donor program. That is profoundly disappointing here. And we are in a very tough position. Further, they chose to underfund the mayor's race in a number of ways, including the initial proposal on match. Mayors have to run citywide. Council seats have to run in a fourth of the city. Then they doubled down and more significantly reduced the mayor's cap versus the city council cap. We heard yesterday that they're now proposing to more equally spread the pain of budget reductions, but only if this council adds more dollars to the small donor program. This feels borderline manipulative towards the folks sitting on council. Speaking only for myself there, but and so it goes without saying, I'm disappointed in how we got here. I'm not sure what the path forward is. I don't begrudge the mayor for what he's proposed in the small donor program. At the same time, I hear all of the critiques that were made today. The program is massively underfunded. It's going to make a bit of a joke of this election, and it's completely failing to take big dollars out of the election because IEs are only going to be more powerful. That's the reality we sit, where we sit right now. Whether we can craft a solution in the time frame we have, I'm not sure. But I do want to acknowledge the negative impacts it's going to have on this election cycle. With respect to some of the comments on transition, they were thoughtful and heartfelt. I think we should consider at least a budget note to reevaluate somewhere in the next fiscal year the proper allocation of resources between the CAO's office, the deputies, the legislative branch, and the mayor's office. Maybe sometime after the 1st of 2025, once we've kind of got the new airplanes flying, we come back with some recommendations on whether we're allocating those resources most effectively. I heard a lot of the concerns. I don't know that I can say with confidence that the mayor's proposed has it wrong, given the resources we have. And I think we just may need some time flying the airplane, come back and evaluate what's the right way to allocate finite resources there. So I just wanted to acknowledge the comments on that point. I just don't have a simple answer on how to fix it. To a certain extent, that carries over to district offices. We made, really at the advice of facilities, an early decision that we were going to prioritize remodeling the second floor. That has substantial cost implications that essentially, it shrinks the pie for district offices. We could go back and play Monday morning quarterback if that was the right relative choice, but the ship has sailed. And I just don't see where additional dollars could come for district offices at this point in time. I do think that's a exercise for the next council to evaluate. Heard a lot about the neighborhood associations as well. I wish I had a meaningful contribution to add. I just want to acknowledge the comments there. I'm concerned about that engagement, but absent finding new funding sources, I'm not sure what I would have done different than Mayor Wheeler in his proposal there. Same with gun violence and Office of Violence Prevention. I do want to just comment on net teams for PBEM. The PBEM budget is actually very difficult this year. Having said that, we don't anticipate reductions in net team support at all. And so I think there's some misunderstanding on that. We'll see how it actually plays out as PBEM operationalizes their budget. So some remains to be seen. But I just want to be clear to folks testifying on that subject. Right now, we think the net team is going to be preserved, some of the community outreach. Having said that, the PBEM budget is in a tough cycle here. So there is some pain there, but not sure it's going to be exactly in the net teams. With respect to PSR, I heard a lot of different perspectives. I just want to highlight a couple of them. I heard a lot of compassion from Portland residents for those in distress, behavioral health, and others. I feel I love this part of Portland, the deep compassion that was articulated for that program, wanting to help people in really difficult situations. And I'm completely aligned with that level of compassion for those struggling on our streets. I also heard at times mischaracterization of Portland police in that testimony, and often caricatures of the way they engage with those on our street. I think that's deeply unfortunate and actually muddies the water here. We need our public safety professionals, our police officers, our firefighters working hand in hand with outreach workers, PSR, as well as others to address this very complex problem on our street. So I just wish this weren't a conversation of PSR outreach versus Portland police. I think that's a very poor framing, and our path forward really has to be those two working closer and closer together with time. Just a couple of other highlights on the economic impacts of Portland street response, because I just wanted to be very clear. We nearly doubled PSR outreach last year in terms of call volume. It did not lead to a reduction in Portland police wait time. There was hopes in reading the early Portland State report that you would see some correlation there. That's not manifest itself. And there's a lot of different theories as to why that's true. But I just want to be crystal clear that investment in PSR does not by itself alleviate the need for police. They supplement each other. It's in some cases a better way to respond than police in certain circumstances, but it by itself does not alleviate our need for sufficient police officers in the city of Portland. There's other elements of that. I will just emphasize on the question of 24/7. That is not the only requirement to qualify for Medicaid. The city currently lacks a billing mechanism for that. That's why I think in the path forward, including for the next form of government, we really have to look at the way the city and county works together on that type of program. County has existing Medicaid billing. The city of Portland does not have that capability as of right now. There are some other challenges, including the gathering of demographic and medical information from those suffering from really high acuity on the streets that are challenges right now for Medicaid funding. So I just would caution anyone expecting the Medicaid dollars to be flowing soon, regardless of 24/7. With that, I've spoken long enough, and I'll turn over to my colleagues.
Commissioner Mapps and Commissioner Rubio.
Can I go after Commissioner Rubio? I think she has a meeting that she needs to get to, and if you're tight on time, Commissioner, you can go before I.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. So I'll just start by saying thank you to everyone who testified about programs that are really important to you and to our city and communities that live here. I'll be really frank that nearly all of what I heard this afternoon resonates with my priorities and concerns as well. This is a hard budget year, and I believe the mayor and his team had been very thoughtful and have done a really great job of navigating and being creative to balance competing priorities in this budget. So thank you, Mayor and team. I'm particularly grateful to see a number of services I care about included, many of which were mentioned today, like Portland Street Response and Rose City Self-Defense, the Diverse Civic Leader Programs, Office of Small Business and Single Permitting Authority, and also the programs that combat gun violence and promote safety. This is why testimony like this is really important, because it helps us define the budget early on in earlier phases and now to thoughtfully engage in next steps. And we're at the stage, as everyone has said, where we will have to really dig in and consider different trade-offs and priorities here. These are all critical services that help us stay on track with our values. So it's not meant to say one is less important than the other. It's just that we have a constrained budget that we have to consider. If we do rebalance over here, then something gives over here. But I also just want to acknowledge, some of those things that we're being asked to reconsider, rebalance. The small donor elections program, won't go into it. We just had heard some dialogue there. Also the Vital Net programs, which really are critical, have a critical partnership with the work that we do here at the city, and as well as several recommendations about the government transition. So thank you for bringing these important dimensions forward. It's important to know where community is, and where any potential rebalancing might need to occur. And one last thing, I just want to acknowledge the important roles of two entities. First, PSEF. PSEF in this budget and the partnership of the PSEF committee, because we would have be having a very drastically different forum and conversation on council if it were not for that partnership. And also to the GTAC, in the midst of this transition here, I wish that there had been more opportunities. In particular, I'm speaking for myself, for my office to intersect with your work. But I deeply appreciate the lens that you're bringing when I do have a chance to hear from your members and the clearly, thoughtfully considered recommendations that you've made. And in particular, I'm really interested in the onboarding recommendations that you're making, and really wanting to dive deep into that one. So to close, all these considerations together with our lens that are prioritizing, or that have our values, will be at the top of my mind as we move through this budget process. So thanks for showing up today and giving voice to those priorities.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Maps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, let me start out by thanking everyone who testified today. You can tell Portland has a vibrant democracy. I believe a little more than 60 people signed up to share their thoughts on this budget. If you take a look at where support and comments fell, we heard clear and pretty consistent public testimony on 6 different issues: increasing funding for PSR, increasing funding for the small donors election program, increasing funding for the government transition. We heard cries to increase funding for neighborhood association systems, especially District 4. Those are the districts on the west side of the river. More support for violence prevention, and support for keeping a position that's on the chopping block over at our LGBTQIA plus work group. Like Commissioner Rubio, I'm deeply sympathetic to all of these proposals. As we went through, I was trying to price these out. I think we heard pretty consistently a call for $3 million in additional funding for PSR. I believe that would have to be ongoing money if we were to move in that direction. And one of the challenges here is that there is no new ongoing money in this space. We heard a call for, I think, an additional $5.7 million to go to the small donor elections program. That could maybe be one-time money. However, when I look at the budget, I do not see where we have $5.7 million unallocated floating about. The good folks over at GTAC raised some red flags about staffing levels for the next group of elected officials who come in here, and I am quite confident that they are not wrong. At the same time, in order to hire more staff for elected officials in the future, we would have to cut, frankly, staff for people who do direct service today, so that's challenging. As a guy who used to work and run the neighborhood association for the city of Portland, when our coalition folks show up and say our funding model to support neighborhood associations is broken, I don't think they're wrong. We heard folks on the west side say they need an additional $400,000. I do hope there's some communication here. I believe the mayor kicked in an extra $100,000 from our initial discussion, so I think that could help. I also hope that we take a look at the formula that we use to distribute funds between the 4 different coalitions we have here. So stay tuned for that conversation. Frankly, I'm not quite sure where that's at. also heard some support for violence prevention programs. I couldn't agree with you more. I tell you, when I came into this job, one of my top priorities was to try to bring down gun violence. I was hoping to do that in a year. It took more than a year, but we're making significant progress in that space. I didn't hear, frankly, a specific program or dollar amount that folks are looking for, but I hear you. But even with all that, we have at least $10 million in new funding requests out there, and it's going to be challenging to pay for it. I'll give you one example. The other thing that we heard support for today was for not eliminating one position that we have at the city that serves folks in the LGBTQIA plus community. You know, right now we only got 2 people who do that work in the entire city. We got 700,000 people in the city. Commissioner Ryan and I are going to be working together to bring forward a budget amendment to try to hold on to one of those positions. But, you know, I hope that folks who testified today recognize that that in order for us to fund that one position, there are no unallocated dollars in this budget to do that work. You know, Commissioner Ryan and I are going to have to reach into the mayor's proposed and find dollars that are being spent on something important and say, this is more important and we have to reallocate this. This is one of the smallest budget amendments that you're likely to see, and it still isn't easy. I know that we have a lot of ask out there. In fact, as I added up, we got more than $10 million in requests. And frankly, I'm trying to accommodate all of those will be especially challenging, and it would literally require us cutting in some other space. And as is often the case when we have these kinds of conversations, I haven't heard clear guidance on where we should cut in the proposed budget. Rather, I get a lot of advice on how to allocate dollars that frankly, unfortunately, this year do not exist. So those are some of the challenges I'm thinking about as we move forward with this budget process. I want to thank everyone who testified today and sent in letters and emails and whatnot. Certainly has made me smarter, and it has informed my thinking and will inform my thinking and decision-making as we move forward in the future. So appreciate that. Mr. Mayor, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. And I gave a lengthy speech at the beginning, so I'll give a very short one here at the end. Thank you to everybody who testified today. I thought it was really great testimony. Thank you, Jen and Sam, for facilitating today's discussion. I appreciate that. Thanks, as always, to the City Budget Office, Interim Director Levine and her team for their work to usher us through this fairly challenging budget process. I also want to thank Sarah Morrissey and Haley Blonsley on my staff for their great leadership around the budget. And Megan, as always, thank you just for being here and supporting me at council sessions. Is there anything more, Jen, before I conclude the meeting?
Just one quick reminder that the next hearing that we'll have will be on Wednesday, May 15th from 2 to 5 p.m. And that is the approved budget hearing. And again, a reminder that at any time you can provide online testimony at portland.gov/CBO or by emailing your testimony to budgetcomment@portlandoregon.gov.
Very good. Thank you, Jen. This meeting of the Budget Committee is continued to next Wednesday, May 15th at 2 p.m. when the committee will consider the approved budget. Public comment and testimony may be provided by signing up to testify in advance via portlandoregon.gov/auditor, or you can Google it. Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned.